Hey everyone, this is Patrick at Filmlight, and this video is an introduction to the new face tracking features in Baselight 6. The face tracker is our new machine learning based tracker trained to detect and track faces. It allows faster and more accurate image correction and enhancement and makes it easier to replicate those corrections during the session. It'll also enhance the traditional workflows using face perspective tracking. Along with FaceTrack, we also have the new Rife machine learning retimer, and both require Flexi effects, which is our platform for machine learning and AI extensions. The minimum hardware requirement to run Flexi effects is a GPU with 16 GB of VRAM or 24 GB system RAM on Apple Silicon machines. Flexi effects are not currently supported on the Apple Intel platform. There are two ways to use the face tracker, face warp and face perspective. Let's start with face warp. Face warp is available in shapes and matte paint, and it uses a 3D mesh generated during detection to warp the shape and paint mattes to fit the face. Let's start by looking at the new tracker and new options. We have a fairly simple shot here that I would like to apply some enhancement to, and I'm going to start by adding a grade layer and a shape operator. In the shape operator, we have a button called face warp, and the first action that we need to take when we want to do any face tracking is to detect the faces in the image, and this must be done before any shapes are added. We're going to click face warp, and that will initialize the tracking model and will try and detect any faces. You will see that the face has been highlighted with this mesh that has been generated and placed over the face. If there was more than one face detected, you will be able to switch between the faces using the drop-down menu over here. Now, at this point, we can add a shape, either using the predefined face-specific quick shapes, or we can add a shape by drawing our own. You can also proceed with tracking and add the shapes afterwards. So what we're going to do is to do the tracking first. I'm going to go to the face tracker. You'll see we have a new tab called Faces, and I'm then going to track forward and track backwards. You will note that we have a keyframe here, and the keyframe indicates where the face detection was done. I'm going to return to my shape operator, and I'm going to apply a quick shape to my mesh, and you will see that when I play that back, the shape is now applied within the 3D mesh, and it is warped to fit that 3D mesh. So going to return, and I'm going to make a very obvious correction to the shape so that you could see that on the face. I'm going to go to my layer, and in the base grade I'm actually going to use the new preset function that will allow me to see the correction, preview the correction, and I'm just going to double click and I'm going to add that correction to the face. So you can see the correction is now done and we have the shape tracked to the face. In the case where you want to use the matte paint effect to do the correction, I'm going to go to a copy of the same shot and going to apply a tracker first. So I'm doing this the other way around, going into my face tab, detecting the faces, and will then go and track that. Once I've done the track, I am going to add a grade layer and will then proceed to the matte paint tool. I will go and select the face that I would like to affect, and I'm going to set up the brush the way that I would want that to be, and you'll see that when I go over to the mesh now, I'm actually going to be painting directly on the mesh. So if I turn on my matte overlay, you'll see that the painting is happening directly on the mesh, and it will actually deform the image or deform the matte stroke as I paint. So I might do this so I can do the painting directly in this mode, so I can go and get the exact result that I want to. Now, when it gets to painting on the other side here, I might want to approach this in a different way, and what I can do is use the show UV button that we have over here. We also have a face zoom button that will automatically zoom to the extent of the face, but what we're going to do here for now is I'm going to click on show UV, and that will give us an unwrapped version of the face and will make it easier for me now to continue painting on the other side. And then once I've achieved what I wanted, I'm going to just use the preset again to apply the same correction, and there we go. So I can refine that a little bit more. So once again, a very obvious correction, just so that you can see exactly what is being done. And there we have the paint stroke, or the matte paint stroke, attached to the face using the face tracker. Of course, one of the important parts of the face tracker is to make it easy to reapply these face tracks and corrections to other faces as well. In this case, what I have is a few shots of the same actor, and I'm going to go to those shots, and I'm going to just recall the correction that I made. Now, in this case, I have got already, I'd already applied tracks and tracked the faces. In this case, we've got two faces in the shot, and so these are already available. So when I recall this, you'll see that it will just use the new track. No extra tracks are added, and it will detect that there's already a track and then simply apply the correction. So when I go to this one, we have the correction applied to the wrong face, and it's very simple to fix that by just choosing the correct one. We will try and do the right thing, find the correct face, but to be clear, we don't use facial recognition. We purely use the metrics that we have from the analysis to try and find the correct face. Over here, once again, just going to recall that and then do the same over here. Now, for this last shot, you'll notice I have not got a tracking strip, so nothing was pre-tracked. And this is just to show you that when I apply this, we briefly get the tracking face track model is initiated and the face track is done. So it immediately checks whether there are any faces and will then apply the correction. So at this point, what I would do is just to go back to the tracker and do the actual tracking for this particular shot, but the correction will already be applied and it can then be adjusted as required. So once that is tracked, we can very quickly just have a quick look through, and you can see very simply the same adjustments or the same fix that was made can be applied to multiple other shots very, very easily. Another very important part of tracking that we need to have a look at is that of occlusion. Part of life in the grading suite. So I have a few shots here, and I'm going to look at this particular shot here where we have got the hand moving across the face. Now, the way that we deal with this is we are going to add, I'm going to do this by just showing you adding a tracker, and I'm going to just have a look at this. So we've got an area where the face is not occluded, and then time of occlusion, and then it goes clear. Now, the way that the face tracker works, when the hand goes across the face, this is going to negatively affect the track, and we could get some warping and distortion. So what we're going to do is, to begin with, let's go and detect the face. So in this case, the face is mainly in the open, so we can detect the face, and you'll see we've got a keyframe. We're going to then move across, and you'll see the face becomes dotted, and this is because it's actually at this point in time that indicates that there's interpolation taking place. Now, there's no second keyframe, so the interpolation, it's not interpolating to anywhere, but as soon as I define another area that I think could be a possible good match, so the hand is out of the way there, I'm going to detect the reference, and what this will do is it's going to set a new reference frame there and detect the face again. Now at this point, because I know there's no more occlusions, I can keep on tracking, and of course when I go backwards and I get to that point, I'm now going to see the hand go past. There's a couple of frames there that I think the face might be good, so I'm going to detect it again. And so now you'll see we've got a few keyframes here, or a few frames, so there's a few tracked frames. We then switch to an interpolated mesh, and then back to the tracked one. So when we view that playing back, you'll see those flashes, and those are the brighter overlay is where a keyframe is. So what I can do in this case now, if I go and apply the same correction as what I had before, and I do that, you'll see that I will have to go and do some work there of the hand with the correction over there. So I would most probably go and just either paint that out or do an inverted shape, but you can see that is the way that we will deal with that occlusion there. In this shot over here, we've got the face once again, and over here we've got it tracked or detected over there. I'm going to track it, and this is a keyframe that had already been set, so I know that that is a good place. And now we got the head moving across, and at this point again we think it's good. We set another keyframe there because of her pulling back and then interpolating. And so what we've done now is, if we look at the correction, you can see on her face over there, that is the area of correction, and I've simply used an inverted shape over there to not correct that particular area as it moves across. There we have the shape from the actual correction, and then this is the holdout shape, which has an animated opacity. So those tools will help you to deal with occlusions. Very easy to go and set or remove reference frames using the tracker tool. Finally, we're going to have a look at face perspective tracking. It is used to do perspective transforms based on the face track, and it can be used with shapes or paint or text, grid warp, and perspective. For the final section in the video, we are going to have a look at the face perspective tracker. The face perspective tracker is used to perform perspective transforms. It uses the 3D mesh generated by the face tracker to calculate the perspective transformations, and it can be used with shapes, paint, text, grid warp, and perspective. So in the shot that I have here, I already have a track. This is a face track that we've done. And what I want to do is I want to correct her hair a little bit. And to do this, because the correction area falls outside the mesh, I'm going to apply the shape or create the shape, and I'm going to do it in the way that I normally would for doing this kind of correction. Maybe, obviously, once again, going to be exaggerated for the effect. Going to do an in-out blur here and just grow that a little bit so we can do something fairly subtle, and then I'm just going to lighten it up. So now at this point, what I've done, which is different, is I've created the shape first, and now I'm going to select face perspective. So if I have a shape already, then face perspective will be the option that I have. I won't have the option for face warp. As I said earlier, with face warp, you select the tracker first, and then you would add the shape. In this case, because there was a shape, the available option is face perspective. Now, once that is selected, you should see that the shape is mapped to, or is tracked to, the hair. And if we go look at the tracker, you'll notice that we have got a blue triangle with 3 points on the face. Now, the reason for this is that the triangle actually represents the plane that the operators will be mapped through. So in this particular case, it's the plane is on the front of the face, and because the face is more towards a frontal position, that would be the right place to have that, to keep the shape over the hair in place. It is possible to go and edit these points as well if the plane that is detected, it doesn't do what you would expect. In other words, if there's any kind of strange movement in the shot or in the shape, you can go and reposition these points. We will try and do the best to find the best result by default to place these. So if we go back to the shape, once again, you'll see it is a plausible solution. Now, the second thing I'm going to do here is really more to show the way that the grid warp works. It's not something that anybody would obviously really do in this particular case, but that's fine. I'm going to zoom in on the eye over here, and once again set my grid warp triangle. I'm going to turn on the outside transparency so that I can see the rest of the image, and again going to make the change that I wish to make here, which is just to enlarge the eye, which is again something you would normally do, I guess, and go and choose the face perspective track after doing that. And in this case, you should see that the correction tracks to the eye. And if I go and look at the tracker, you'll now see it. We still have the blue triangle, but in this case it is positioned more carefully or more specifically right over the area where the grid was placed. I've got two other shots that I want to apply the similar corrections to, and we have that shot over there, and I'm going to copy the stack and smart paste it, and you should see that I have the same corrections applied. If I go to my shape and if we view the before and after, you can see what's happening. I had an extra layer in here to do the color, to lighten up the shot, so I might just remove that for now, but that's the result. And of course, in this particular case, because the heads are in a very similar position, this works particularly well for the perspective tracker. The final example is a shot where we have got two faces, and once again the face of the actor that I want to affect is in a similar position to the other two shots. I'm going to insert a tracker, detect the faces, and in this case you can see it's detected two faces. It should track both of them at the same time, and then allow me to, so if I go and have a look here, you'll see we've got both faces tracked. At this point I'm going to apply the same stack, and you can see that we have got the same corrections applied. Now, even though this is the perspective tracker and not the face warp, we are still able to go and choose to apply these to different faces. And so if this was applied to the wrong face for whatever reason, we can still go and switch that, and we can still get the result that we require. I hope that you've found this video useful, and please keep an eye open for future tutorials and future videos, and enjoy Baselight version 6.